Good morning and welcome to Enterprise Friday on Enterprise Television. I am Kende Bodrin.
And I am Henry Igwebike.
All right, it's the start of a new day and we are glad to have you on the show. We kick off with today's newspaper review before diving into the main conversation of the day. Trust me, you don't want to miss a moment. You can join the conversation by dropping your comments, liking, and following us on all of our social media platforms at EnterpriseTV7. So joining us to share the matters at hand is Sonny Igboanugbo. She's a journalist and a public affairs analyst. You're welcome, sir.
Good morning to you, Mr. Igboanugbo.
Good morning, Harry.
Good morning,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you so very much for your time. So I would love us to start with the Guardian newspaper this morning. And we have the big story. Today, interestingly, is the World Mental Health Day. And we have it that 85% unreached as Nigeria buckles under massive care gap.
Okay, on the top strip, we have Senate blocks 2026 fiscal plan pending review of past spending.
And also we have a World Bank report. Critics say federal government rhetoric contradicts Nigeria's reality.
Still on the top strip, we have court extends order freezing Osun local government withheld bank accounts.
And also good one for motorists in Nigeria as IG, that is Kayode Egbetoku, suspends enforcement of tinted glass law pending court hearing.
Okay, we have Osibajo Odikalu, Ali decry moral decline, canvas legal political reforms.
And also on a sad note, Tinubu, Nyako and others mourn passing of Christopher Kolade. So, Mr. Igboanugbo, I'd love us to start with the World Mental Health Day. 85% unreached as Nigerians buckle under massive care gap. Interestingly, in Nigeria and Africa, we tend not to give so much attention to mental health. We feel it is part of us. Lots of people manage it. But unfortunately, it has led to the death of so many we can't even account for. How do you think going forward we can begin to take care of our mental health in Nigeria?
Well, I think the best way to go about it is to strengthen our health institutions and mount vigorous advocacy on how it is important to help and to bring in this segment of the society into the whole agenda of national development, so that everybody will be taken care of. But come to think of it, Henry, who is in this country is not mad, is mentally, who in this country does not have a mental problem, or will not have a mental, you must be quite resilient. It must be something else for you not to be mentally affected by what is happening in this country today. So I think everybody should be incorporated in this advocacy, so that if we actually trying to thrive at a very clean and healthy mental country. That's my position on it. So let us expand our health institutions and our advocacy, and to create the environment for everybody to know what mental issues are. In fact, from my own, or from what I know, or from the information I have, you see many people are mentally affected or afflicted, but only that people don't know. It's not only the person walking in the streets naked that is mentally that has a mental problem. There are so many people who look so healthy, but they have mental issues, and that is why the advocacy ought to be extended. That is why the medical institutions must be empowered to, to sensitize the public to know the importance of this advocacy. Thank you.
Very well said. So what are the most common mental health disorders affecting Nigerians today? Could you...
Well, the ones we know, the people that are out there in the streets, that we cannot identify by the way they talk, the way they dress, the way they, some of them that are completely, completely not in sync with the normal society who you can identify visually. Apart from them, there are people who are those are the intrinsic ones that we cannot see with the naked eyes, but they also have mental problems. And those ones can only be identified through medical examinations. And I think that is why the net ought to be widened so that we can capture everybody. And it is opposite at this point to advocate that once in a while we move into the hospital to check the state of our mental health. I think it's also that is part of the reasons why the advocacy and the information should be widened so that people can know that you may be walking in the street and you may think that you are healthy mentally, but it is just as we check other body, about other general health issues. We can also check our own mental health individually before we talk about the collective aspect of it.
All right, because I wanted to ask if you think, this is on a light mood, if you think our leaders equally face what I would call deficit in leadership mental challenges. Because how do you imagine a situation where a leader who has crisscrossed different countries around the world, they see how good things work in other parts of the world, but when they come back home, rather than copy the good things they've seen in other parts of the world, you see them being comfortable with the shabby situation we find. So do you think it's fair to say our leaders equally need to be checked when it comes to their mental status, especially with regards to their leadership capability?
Definitely, Henry. You see, it is only somebody that is mentally unbalanced that will go into the primitive acquisition of wealth, that pursue the primitive accumulation of wealth the way we see it happening in this country. You see, being on the political scene for so many years, I've seen a situation where somebody will park about 20 SUVs in his garage, 20 SUVs. And that same person can be bribed with one SUV to skew political processes. Perhaps somebody that was sent to a state to conduct primaries in an election. He has 20 SUVs, most of them untouched. He has not driven any of them for years. Yet, the candidates will bribe him with another SUV. And he will do something that will tip the balance of the society negatively. And it doesn't bother him. It is only somebody that is mentally challenged that will see a situation that will go and buy SUV to drive on an unpaved road, the type of road we have. The only reason for buying SUV is to navigate through those roads instead of putting that road in order so that you can even ride a bicycle through that road. You see, when you say this, I cannot agree more or less with you. It is I think anybody that makes comes to such a conclusion, in my own view, is right. So you are right in thinking that way.
Very well said, Iwanugo. Thank you for the concurring, with my submission. And let's go to the Punch newspaper for today. We have a big story. Amupitan faces tough test as new INEC chair.
Okay, we also have National Assembly probes NNPCL over $18 billion refinery spending.
And also we have below the big story, customs seize 1.9 billion hard drugs, expired flour at Seme border.
Still on the top strip, we have Tinubu clears 959 for national honors.
And also we have Tinubu pardons Herbert Macaulay, Maman Vatsa, Farouk Lawan, and 172 others.
We also have FG moves to audit varsities over TED Fund grants.
Mr. Igbanuga, I'd love us to take on this pardon of President Bola Tinubu on Herbert Macaulay. I know we might be young to know what exactly Herbert Macaulay had committed, because we know he was a great man, the little we had read from our history books when it was still allowed before they dissolved it, and now they've allowed history again. But speak to us on this, especially for that of Herbert Macaulay. What exactly is it he has done against the state that it has taken so much time to have a pardon for him?
I think from what I've read, it was the British authorities that sentenced him, maybe because of his advocacy for independence of Nigeria, and for maybe against the tough aspect of the British rule, for going against the colonial masters. So I think that is happening, and that has lingered over the years. I think this is just a formality. There's nothing. I don't think there is any serious issue that should be attached to that. It is just mere formality. Herbert Macaulay evokes memories of greatness in Nigeria. Today, he's one of the greatest Nigerians that has ever lived. And give or take, that pardon means little or nothing as far as I'm concerned. So I think it's just mere formality. The fundamental issue is actually the pardon of, or what we should look at as the pardon that will have fundamental effect on the Nigerian society. And for that, I want to compare what the president has done to what happened at the forecourt of Pontius Pilate. At the forecourt of Pontius Pilate, when Pilate was asking the Jews, do I pardon this man, or do I leave this man, or do I release Barnabas? And he said, all of them chorused, release Barnabas, release Barnabas. I said, what do we do to this man? Crucify him. And that is exactly what is playing out. There is one man that needs that pardon, or that needs that whose pardon, if it happens today, will bring a lot of meaning, will make a lot of meaning to Nigerians, and that is the Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. So if you pardon or you release or pardon all those people without the main issue in Nigeria about the issue of legalese and the release of a political figure like Nnamdi Kanu, I don't think that is the scenario I just created is what captures in my mind what the symbolism of what the president did yesterday. So it makes no sense to me that you pardon 175 Nigerians, some of them of no consequence, and leaving out the most consequential issue around that subject matter, which is the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. So that is my reaction to it. It makes no meaning to me.
Okay, so speaking of these pardons, right? Are pardons being used politically or genuine reconciliation?
Especially as we draw into 2027,
yes.
Is the president using this as an anchor point to draw Nigerians who are really not happy and satisfied with his not great leadership in Nigeria?
Everything President Tinubu has done or does is tied to politics. Everything he has done in the past 30 years or more, or that he happened on the political scene of Nigeria, particularly his presidency in the last 2 years, is tied to politics. So there's no aspect of it. You cannot say that this is not part of his politics. It is part of his agenda to serenade the political to appease certain group of people, and maybe to further his political interests. So you cannot be wrong by saying that, by making that assertion. So it's all part tied to politics.
Very true. So let's move to the Vanguard newspaper just before we call it around for this particular segment. We have from the Vanguard newspaper, big story, accommodation crisis hits the university students, parents will.
Okay, we have police arrest 12 suspects behind death of Arise News anchor Somto Chukwu.
And also we have a new INEC chair, Nigerians parties set agenda for Amupitan.
Okay, we have tinted glass. Why police altered permit enforcement. And
also we have other interesting stories here. Field rehabilitation. Reps order probe into $18 billion spent on refineries.
We also have Tinubu mourns as ex-UK envoy Christopher Kolade dies at 92.
All right, Mr. Wanugo, well, let's go to the uncertain and very nice speaking about it, especially that the death of Somto Chukwu, Arise News anchor. Police have made arrest of 12 suspects. But of what use, of what gains is this really, knowing that this is more like medicine after death? The FCT is supposed to be the forefront of security in Nigeria. But unfortunately, it has become a place where everyone is on their own right now. Do you think this arrest would make any significant go against the further insurgency in the FCT?
Well, I think it's a positive development that those people were arrested. If they were actually the people that committed the offense. In fact, there's no place crime does not happen. Even in the most protected place in the world, crime does happen. The issue is, if crime happens, what happens thereafter? If this type of promptness had been, been the case all over the years, where criminals commit crime and are arrested promptly, I don't think the level of crime in this country will soar as high as soared in the last few years. If this can be brought to bear with the people that commit mass killings all over the country, if this is the case in Zamfara, if this case is in Castina, if this is the case in Borno, if this is the case in Anambra, if this is the case all over all the parts of Nigeria, where people are promptly arrested for committing a crime, I don't think people, before you go into crime, you think twice. So I think it is a positive development if actually the people arrested are the people involved. I think that is the aspect, that is from the angle I'm looking at it. If they are actually the people that committed this offense and they were promptly caught, people engage in mass killings in the US, even with the level of security in the US. The person that just killed somebody the other day, the sniper that hit more, that if such promptness could happen in Nigeria, I think it should be commended. But let us be sure that this is not just an isolated case and that those involved are the actual perpetrators. But before I go, Harry, I really am surprised that we are not talking about the new INEC chairman. The INEC chairman.
We will discuss it on our main conversation after now. We will discuss it as our main conversation. Yes, most definitely. It's the most important thing for us. Yes. We'll do that just after this newspaper reviews today. But just before we end for this particular segment, do you have a question?
I wanted to ask him, what does this killing now reveal about safety of journalists in Nigeria?
Well, I don't want us to look at the issue as unless there is a compelling reason to believe that she made her fate because she was a journalist. But otherwise, I would think that the best approach is to ensure that the society itself is protected more, and those who commit crimes are arrested. So if this thing happens in the federal capital, in recent times, in recent years, the cases of criminal activities, rise in criminal activities have risen in the Federal Capital Territory, and it's not a good testimonial for a country like Nigeria, who is actually going out there clapping hands, begging for foreign investment. People will be scared, more scared to invest. So I think let us look at it more generally, unless there's a compelling reason to believe that she was killed because she was a journalist.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's awesome. But we would go on a short break in a bit. Mr. Igbanugo will still be here to take us on that. That is when we return. Political parties urge Amupitan to ensure credible election. In a bit, it's still Enterprise Morning. Don't go anywhere.
We'll be right back.
Thank you so very much for being back. And if you just joined us, it's still Enterprise Friday, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's head straight to our conversation for today. Nigerians, political parties and groups have outlined expectations for Professor Joash Amupitan, SAN, recently nominated by President Bola Tinubu as the new chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. The Council of State has approved his nomination, which will now go to the Senate for confirmation. If confirmed, Amupitan, a professor of law from Kogi State and Deputy Vice-Chancellor of the University of Jos, will become the 6th academic to lead the commission.
Very true. The African Democratic Congress, ADC, urged Amupitan to remain loyal to Nigerians, not the ruling party, and ensure credible elections. Now, Governor Caleb Mutfwang of Plateau State praised him as a patriotic intellectual capable of upholding integrity and strengthening democracy.
Very well said. And similarly, the Northern Ethnic Nationalities Forum and the Obidient Movement congratulated Amupitan, expressing hope that his leadership would bring transparency, reforms, and improved credibility to Nigeria's electoral process ahead of the 2027 general elections. We still have with us Sonny Igbanugo, journalist and public affairs analyst. Thank you so very much, Mr. Igbanugo, for hanging on.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get to the crux and the meaty part of our discussion. Of course, the long-awaited time is here. We have a new INEC chair.
Yeah.
What's your take on this? First, do you think the person of Amupitan is the best person for the job? Just before we get into other interesting part of the story.
Well, I must say that I do not know him personally. So, and I have heard very little about him in the past. So I just base my analysis on what is out there in the public space. That is a very credible person, an astute lawyer and academic, and that is a man of high integrity. That is what I have read from the government, the people that appointed, the government that appointed him, and some of the commentators I have watched talk about him. I hope that is the case. I hope that is the case, because that is what we need to steer the ship, or the political ship of this nation, and to clean the audience table, to pull this country out of the morass of electoral malfeasances. I think that is what we need. That is the type of character we need. If if that actually captures his characterization, or that characterization actually captures who he truly is, I think it's a positive development. It's not one that everybody should be hopeful about. But then there are so many things that we talk about when it comes to electoral matters in Nigeria.
Okay, so let's bring this down to his academic background, right? So what impact could Amupitan's academic background have on the modernization of Nigeria's electoral system?
Especially as a professor.
Yeah.
We are used to having professors now as INEC chair and the return officers. So do you think the professorship spells credibility?
Without too much making much ado about being a professor, let me remind you that the professor is currently in prison in Cross River State for electoral offenses. Yeah, so it doesn't have to do with his professoral attainment. I think it has to do with his person and what he's determined to do. I think professors are the ones that rig election in Nigeria all over the place. There's no place in Nigeria today that you don't have professor as the returning officer or the person that conducts the election in states, including the main people that conducted Morrissey, who was is a professor. Atahiru Jega is a professor. And the Mahmoud Yakubu is a professor. And you cannot think that these people are smelling roses today. None of them is smelling roses, in spite of their academic attainments. It has to do with your determination. And that is why, looking further into this, the appointment of Amupitan, I say unless it's a man that is imbued with the highest level of patriotism, he must be another Gani Fayomi for him to do anything different. If he is not another Gani Fayomi, I don't think there's anything to cheer about his being a professor. He must be a man burning with the zeal of putting Nigeria together, putting Nigeria on the right footing. Because let me tell you, credible election is the only pathway to Nigeria's greatness. Nothing more, nothing less can give us that leeway that we are looking for, except credible election. And the election, his performance will have to start now. We'll start from now to count his conduct. First of all, registration of political parties. Second of all, interpreting all the matters that are today pending in our electoral firmament, including that of the status of the Labour Party and its leadership, including the crisis in the PDP, in the political party generally, where INEC has to play a role. There must be that sense of patriotism to make giant strides and lead the way in cleaning the audience table. If that does not happen, and that must happen from the blast of the whistle, kicking off the match. If that does not happen, then we have no reason to hope for better future, that there is going to be anything different from what others have done. Other professors have been there. Professors are the ones, in spite of their parlous situation in Nigeria, in spite of the pay, the Nigerian professors, especially those in the academia, are the least remunerated in the world, in the whole world. Even the Gambia, professors in the academia in the Gambia are better off than those in Nigeria, in the tiny Gambia there. So look at this thing. These people are the people that shoot themselves in the leg. This is an opportunity for you to have well-paved road in this country, for our hospitals to be not to transform themselves into serious places of redemption and not death centers, for our tertiary institutions to work according to world standard, to every other thing you can think of. Election and INEC is the beginning. If we don't get this right, then we are not going anywhere. Nigeria cannot. Waking up the sleeping giant is impossible. So everything is on the shoulders of this man that has just been appointed. I hope he knows that. I am sure that there is no way he will be his appointment can come out of the blues. Before he was made, this appointment was made, he must have been contacted, and nobody knows what was discussed behind the scene. Nobody knows. It is up to him to know whether those things have been discussed behind the scene, whether he's going to adopt them, or whether he's going to be a man of himself and take Nigeria to the next level in terms of development. With life, right?
Yes, very, very true. Because Nigerians cannot forget Professor Peter Ogban, who rigged the election for the current Senate President Godswill Akpabio, a man who did not sit for the elections, but today he is our Senate President. So you can see how bad the situation is when the academia involve themselves in some of these things. But let's still stick to Amupitan at this particular point. November 8th will be Anambra gubernatorial elections. I would love to believe that should be the first litmus test for Amupitan. So what do you think? What do you think Amupitan should be concerned about Anambra State governorship elections come November 8th? What do you think he should be looking out for? What are those things that he should navigate and possibly ensure that Anambra becomes the #1 tool that he would use to gain the trust of Nigerians?
Incidentally, Harry, I'm a participant in that election, being the first man of the governorship candidate of the ADC in Anambra. And I was there, the lawyers will say, the local Tinkuo, when the August 16 by-election time. I was there, I watched the whole election. It was insane. It was a direct. It was something that nobody who is a patriotic Nigerian will want to keep it. So I think it will start the announcement we make as I make chairman that wants to bring that about the change in this country. We start from Anambra. The tsunami that will happen in this country in terms of the electoral fortunes of this country will start from Anambra election. If he doesn't use the Anambra election to announce himself, I don't think there is any other thing that we'll be talking about in terms of credibility. First of all, it is the remedy of INEC to ensure that the electoral environment is clean enough. Before the eyes of INEC operating, people were openly buying votes. People were openly buying votes, and INEC who they are watching and in some cases collaborating with those doing. So if he doesn't use the Anambra election to announce himself as a man that wants to bring a credible change, then the joke is on him. So I think you are right when you say that Anambra State is a small state for him. Let him use it to announce himself and to instill confidence in the people that I am the one that has come to save Nigeria. Because anybody that gets the elections right in Nigeria has come to save Nigeria. That is the only saving grace Nigeria has. Credible election. If you have credible election, every other thing. And I want to leave these words of that the purest treasure mortal times have got is a spotless reputation. If you remove it, as Shakespeare said, men are forgiven low of painted clay. My honor is my life. Both grow in one. Take honor from me and my life is God. That is what I want this man to remember. Let him go and read it in King Richard's record. Let him go and read that aspect. Men were ready to die. Noble men were ready to die because of their reputation, the reputation they want to lose. What else do you want to live on earth? Nobody, you cannot bury. Now, with the billions of naira that was voted for the 2023 presidential election, and at the end of the election, you announced a glitch, and from that moment, that election became tainted with the paintbrush of shame, and that is what you have left INEC with, and you are going home. What else do you want to achieve as a man? Now, if this man comes to your replacement, I was talking about Mahmoud Chega, that left there with his head bowed in shame, despite the billions of naira he collected to conduct that election. He left that place with head bowed in shame, with his credibility crawling on the floor. If this man comes in and he thinks that is also the legacy is going to live for himself, then he has left with nothing on earth at the end of the day. So he must go and read that aspect of King Richard II and know that the purest treasure he can have for himself is a spotless reputation. If you remove it, you are like gilded loam, that is the sand that you mold that has no life, or painted clay. No matter how much you decorate a piece of pottery, it has no life of its own in itself. So you must go and read that and know that that is the only thing he has at the end of the day, what Nigerians or what the world thinks about you.
Very well said. You have actually, oversaid everything, and we can't say anything more than that, because the onus is on him right now to do the right thing. Professor Mahmoud Yakubu really has turned out to be the most controversial INEC chairman, so bad that a popular Afrobeat artist, Fal the Bad Guy, did a song for him. Yeah. Professor Mahmoud, you're a fraud or something. A fraud. So, and there was a challenge. Yes. Okay, the Mahmoud Yakubu challenge of being a fraudster was all over the place. I do not know if anything can be as bad as that. And I think Amupitan should borrow from that and ensure that he would not allow himself become debased so much that young people begin to do songs for him like they have done for Mahmoud Yakubu. Thank you so very much, Mr. Sonny Banugo. We truly do appreciate you a lot.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, people, that's just about the time we have. We'd love to say thank you for making this a date. Please do well to follow us. You can find us at EnterpriseTVNews.com. And also, you might re-watch this episode, if you may, when you visit us at EnterpriseTV7. I am Henry Igwebike.
And I am Kehinde Bodirin.
Thank you so very much. Once more, stay tuned for yet another interesting programs coming on Enterprise Television. Have yourself a splendid day, and God bless you.
Yeah, stay blessed.